Hey guys, this is going to be a different video than usual. I'm not going to teach you how to use anything. I'm not going to show you any kind of neat gadgets or neat tools on the internet. What I'd like to talk about, and I want to do a series of these videos, is some of the philosophy behind the attitudes and the mindset you have to really take a hold of these Chromebooks, these one-to-one devices in your classroom and really make them something huge and powerful and positive in your teaching. So I want to tell you a story about a whale. And actually, this isn't my story. This is a story about Alexis Ohanian. I think I said his name right. He's one of the co-founders of Reddit, a very large social media type webpage. He told this story in a social media success talk in a TED talk. I want to retell his story and then bring it to a totally different ending, a totally different viewpoint at the end, and show you how real life examples can teach us lessons about how we can become better teachers. So the story starts Greenpeace. Greenpeace wanted to save some whales, specifically a humpback whale. And they were doing this because Japanese researchers wanted to harvest some whales for some of their research. So Greenpeace decided to track the whales. So they put a tracking chip into a humpback whale. And they thought, you know what? Let's get the internet on board. Let's let the internet name the whale. So they came up with this big long list of names. And many of them were very poetic and meaningful. And, you know, it's like a big list. I think I'm going to pop it up in this video. And somebody noticed that one of the names on the list was Mr. Splashy Pants. Well, the internet saw that and ran with it. Okay, so I told you that the story came from the guy, one of the co-founders of Reddit. One of the posts on Reddit from one of the Redditors suggested that everybody vote for Mr. Splashy Pants. And lo and behold, everybody did. It took off, it went viral. Boing Boing had it, Fart, Dig, these are all social media type websites, web page sharing type websites. And even Reddit, the web page itself, got behind it by changing their logo to support Mr. Splashy Pants. Well, all of this took place during the voting process, and Mr. Splashy Pants went from 3% of the votes to 70% of the votes. So the internet wins, right? Mr. Splashy Pants is the name. Oh no. Greenpeace wanted a nicer name, one of the more thoughtful names that they had come up with. So they said, okay, that's funny, you know, haha. We'll open up the votes again for another week, and we'll pick the real name after that. Well, that just got the internet fired up. After it was all said and done with, Mr. Splashy Pants was a winner by a landslide. And it made the news. And how funny would that have been to hear Dan Rather say, you know, Mr. Splashy Pants won by a landslide in the Greenpeace elections or whatever. But this turned out actually better than Greenpeace could have planned. Greenpeace actually made a killing selling merchandise for Mr. Splashy Pants. Also, their ultimate objective was achieved. The Japanese saw all the publicity around it, and they decided not to harvest any of the whales. So they won, ultimately, their goal. And the whales were happy. Yay. So the big takeaway from this is that Greenpeace had a great idea, used some web technology, and lost control of it. By losing control of it, it became bigger and better than they could have ever planned. So I know what you're thinking right now. This is where he's going to tie it into the classroom. Yeah, I am. Okay? Not only did Greenpeace get their ultimate objective even better than they could have planned, I mean, they're still making money off of Mr. Splashy Pants, actually. They're still selling buttons for Mr. Splashy Pants. But humanity won, because we now know that the human being can click one time every 0.4 seconds, give or take. And we learned that because of the people clicking to vote for Mr. Splashy Pants. Now, in your classroom, when you give an assignment, you're the teacher, they're the students, that's all well and good, but you got to let go of the reins a little bit. You got to give them some of the power. It's one thing to give them an assignment, have them write on a piece of paper, pencil, pen, and turn it in just like we've always done. There's not a whole lot of that can take place there. However, with the Chromebooks, with iPads, with computers, with the internet, with all the free tools that are out there for people to use on their phones, on the web, apps for Windows, if you have Windows 8 or higher, um, all of these things can be used to create these wonderful things, these wonderful projects, these wonderful assignments. You have to let go and give the kids the freedom, the students the freedom to use all the resources available. And that means giving them some of the power in the classroom. You preach the message, you teach the message, but the kids need to take that message and create something meaningful to them from that. It's all well and good to have all the technology in the world, the fastest internet, the biggest monitors, the most robust CPUs in the world. But if all you do use them for is basic bookkeeping and testing and note taking and go look up a definition, let's face it, we can do that on our phone. We do that in everyday life. That's just commonplace now. Take this technology and use it in uncommon ways. And just because you can't think of those ways, your students will, as long as you trust them to do it. And I know some of you are thinking now, well, I can't trust some of my students. If you give them a little bit of access and a little bit of self-determination, they're going to surprise you. I promise you, I've seen it. I was in your shoes. I was scared. I gave my kids a project last year and I had no idea if it was going to flop or not. And I knew that I was going to be looked at for my test scores. And my kids wowed me. Even the ones that I thought would never amount to much or never do much, they were the ones that stepped it up. They were the ones that just shocked me when they turned in their project. And it's all because I didn't give them parameters. I didn't give them ideas. I told them they had to be creative and they had to do something on their own. And they took that and they floundered for a minute and then they figured out some really, really, really cool stuff to do. And they learned. They learned better by taking on that responsibility of learning on their own than I ever could have forced on them. So my point from this, learn from Greenpeace. And even if you have the greatest idea in the world, in your opinion, give your students a little bit of free reign, a little bit of self-determination room, and see what they can take your idea and how they can make it even better, how they can make it even greater. Let them tell you how to teach them, not directly, but let them use their skills, their strengths, their creativity to create things so that they can learn and they can make that learning meaningful to themselves and their life and their situation. I'm not telling you you have to do this kind of stuff. I'm asking you to try it. Try it small scale stuff first, and maybe a little bit bigger, and then maybe a little bit bigger. I'm not saying you got to do this all in one day or one semester or 1 year, but give it a chance and see what happens. And even if you only see a little bit of impressive stuff or a little bit of learning going on, take that, make it better next time, make it a little bit bigger, give them the power over their own education, because that's what we want in our life. And nowadays, with technology being everywhere, they were born into this technology. They know it. It's innate. It's what they think of all the time. Instead of reaching for a pencil and paper, they reach for their phone. Let them use their strengths, and technology is one of their strengths. Every student. Give it a chance. Let me know how it turns out. If you have some really cool projects that turn out really well or really good ideas, leave them in the comments. Click the like button if you like this video. I might do some more if I get enough likes on it. Don't forget to subscribe and check back again next week for another Tech Tuesday.